Talk about starting the season with a bang. There was simply no stopping the Saints in their season opener against Gold Coast. There was no denying that it was Jessie Wardlaw's night. Bagging goals, clunking marks, no one could lay a finger on her. Wardlaw's fine touch got her teammates jumping in on the celebrations, the Saints snapping through 6 goals before the Suns had their first. Tiana Smith was all sorts of smooth on ball, Ash Richards just as classy, while new faces Paige Trudgeon, Charlotte Simpson and Reen Karras all had their time to shine.
They might get a chance to add to that. Karras on the move, goal!
From right on the line to on the run from long range, the Saints refused to let the goals dry up. A Hannah Stewart goal on return in the closing minute, the icing on the cake. The heavens certainly opened up in round 2, but there was no raining on the Saints parade. Back at home to take on the Swans, the breeze proved meddlesome before Darcy Guttridge corrected course. Ella Friend and Tiana Smith chiming in soon after to build a handy buffer. With the rain pouring down, Jamie Lambert was in her element. The Swans gave a fright with 2 goals to open the last quarter, but it was Jessie Wardlaw who stepped up to the plate, seeing her side go back-to-back wins with this absolute belter.
Jessie Wardlaw rolls this ball on and on and on and on!
Dal's acting skills were put to the test as Emily Fiedler was told news of her long-awaited debut.
Do you reckon it looks good Sunday, Arvo?
You're joking. The Saints had to dig deep to oust the Bombers at Windy Hill. Serene Watson finding plenty of the footy as the focal point of St Kilda's defence. The backline's resolve eventually paid dividends. Essendon's impatience in the low-scoring arm wrestle proving costly. Tempers flared late as the Saints held on to their slender lead, but despite another heart-in-mouth finale, it ended as a 3-0 start to open the season. With 4 straight wins beckoning, it was back at home to take on the Hawks. Jessie Wardlaw's fast start got Jack Steele's seal of approval, and although striking again soon after, it was all the firepower the Saints had as the Hawks dug in the talons. Milestone Saints Jamie Lambert and Nat Exon proved their experience multiple times. Lambert joining Wardlaw among St Kilda's best for the afternoon. However, there was no coming back from Hawthorn's 6-goal final term. The visitors coming home with a wet sail to hand the Saints their first blemish of the season. Celebrating one of St Kilda's absolute best. There was nothing but love for skipper Hannah Priest, who wrote herself into the history books as the first Saints AFLW player to reach 50 games for the club. The day of celebrations looked on track early. Nat Exon pulled out the tricks, Jessie Wardlaw again hit the sticks, while the mids were oh so slick. But with majors hard to come by and Fremantle continuing to chip away at the margin, every moment was crucial. Serene Watson and Hannah Priest put in a double shift down back to repel the Dockers deluge, and while the Saints came tantalisingly close to kicking ahead, a late Freo major in the dying minutes ultimately put the result out of reach. Adelaide, here we come. Coming up against the highly fancied Crows, Molly McDonald got her side off to the perfect note. Tough and tenacious, the Saints rolled their sleeves up to force the Crows into a hard-fought contest. It took some magic for Adelaide to break free. Grace Kelly, up against her sister Neve, vital in keeping her side in the hunt. Janome Anderson's repeated efforts paid off in the final seconds of the third, before the Crows beat the buzzer to put their nose back in front. Both sides had chances to win it, but the Saints ran out of time to pull off a miracle interstate. There was barely enough time to soak in Friday's match against Adelaide, with the Saints back in action to face GWS on Tuesday evening in Frankston. After weeks on the wrong side of the ledger, the Saints finally came out on top. Jamie Lambert was unmissable at every turn. Darcy Guttridge's milestone game couldn't have started any better. Jessie Wardlaw was at her unstoppable best, but highlight of the night, it had to be Tiana Smith.
A young gun on full display in fabulous Frankston. Take him out, Tiana Smith.
The Giants fired back after a goalless first half. However, the red, white and black were far too strong and took home a vital 4 points. Back home at RSA Park, it was Saints vs Demons to wrap up round 7. The D's got on the front foot early before Jessie Wardlaw stepped up, the key forward putting in a powerful 3-goal performance to keep her side in the hunt. Ash Richards and Serene Watson in her 50th game each had important hands as the margin ebbed and flowed. One particularly vocal fan cheering on her Reenie.
Good girl! We love that, Reenie!
But Melbourne, Their midfield might and their returning stars proved too much in the end, a win slipping out of reach for the red, white and black. Weren't we just here not long ago? That the Saints were, this time heading to Alberton to face the Power in their second trip to Adelaide in a fortnight. Sadly, it was the Power who had all the answers in a barnstorming 5-goal start. Tiana Smith provided one of the few early highlights, while Nat Plain gave her all, playing as a high half forward. The Saints evened up after the first change as Jamie Lambert gritted her teeth, but the damage had been done despite the promising finish, the Saints going down by 15 points. With finals hanging in the balance, the Saints simply had to win over the Bulldogs in Ballarat to keep their hopes alive. In some much needed good news, Rebecca Ott was confirmed to play for the first time in 730 days, coming incredibly close to kicking a goal in the game's opening minute. Euroke, led by Ned Exon and Molly McDonald, got things ticking over up forward, while Nicola Stevens was everywhere down back in a best on ground display. With the Saints down a rotation, the Dogs refused to bow out. Ash Richards levelled scores in the final term with her second major, and in the heart-racing final moments, the Saints just couldn't take their chances. A finals berth sadly out of the equation for 2024. Finals may have been off the table, but giving it absolutely everything to close out the season wasn't. Rising star Janome Anderson came out swinging in the Saints' final game of the year, while Jessie Wardlaw clunked everything against her old side. The Lions found their mojo early, but a special moment for Paige Trudgeon turned the tide.
Never kicked a goal in AFLW. Does she go for it? She does. She wasted no time, and she drilled it!
Her first ever goal had the Saints bouncing back, but a blistering Brisbane follow-up wasn't enough to bank the result. A win to close out the year, not to be.